Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Oh,
Ladies
so
and
professional.
Fancy seeing you all.
Yes, it's so good to see you. So Christmas is said and done, and it is the new year. So hope everyone had a great new year and a great Christmas. All the things.
I want to know what people's New Year resolutions are. I don't have one.
I was going to say, did you have one?
No.
I didn't either.
I don't feel like they really work out. So I will say I did get on the Peloton yesterday.
Ooh, go Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is that everything you hope for?
My butt hurts.
Oh. Well, Okay.
Yep. Anyways, guess what?
What?
It is true crime time again.
All right, guys.
We're back at it.
Yes, we are.
New Year's, new you.
Yeah, new year, new you. Okay. Well, we hope that you all had a great week so far. But if not, we hope that this brings you a little dark joy. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Taylor.
And this is
Pure Malice.
Boo!
Boop, 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 boop.
All right.
All right.
We have an announcement.
This year, we will be doing some themed episodes. So one of our themes
Is...
I can't do a drum roll. I tried really hard.
Either.
Wait.
Oh.
I feel like that's going to sound really
That's
bad.
going to sound so great. Okay. So we're bringing Athletes Gone Dark to Pure Malice. So be on the lookout because episodes are coming soon.
So basically, these episodes are going to focus around athletes who have a darker side to them
Mm-hmm.
and the crimes that they committed. And part of this just stems from the fact that we like true crime. But then also, I played college athletics. Ryan played college athletics. Sports is something that is within us and
We
through our
love it.
family line, and we really love it.
Yeah.
I say that I'm not the biggest fan of basketball, like watching it.
I'm not the biggest fan of volleyball.
Yeah, it's fun.
I like watching you.
Mm.
She was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't stand watching softball, but I love watching baseball.
See,
And I like football.
Yeah.
I like watching football.
Yeah.
I even like kids baseball, like watching my kid.
Sometimes, I mean, really and truly right now, it's funny. It's still like a funny but frustrating age,
Softball.
Yeah. So that will be coming soon. But today we are picking back up with the Billionaire Murders, the unsolved murders of Honey and Barry Sherman. And I don't have a recap prepared for you. So sorry. Taylor, start us off.
All right. Trigger warning. This episode contains discussion of substance abuse and suicide.
That's right.
So if you do recall from last episode, both Barry and Honey Sherman had been found in their pool room dead. We talked a little bit about how they were found.
We talked about the many court cases that Barry had going.
Like over 1,200.
He had that many against the Canadian government.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But up to 100 at a time. And so, yeah, we're going to pick it back up.
So grab your beverages.
Get cozy.
And get ready to get into it. Fearing that this was a targeted attack, security was put in place for the Shermans' children and their family, as well as some of the top-level people at Apotex, which was his pharmaceutical business. On January 19th of 2018, the Toronto Star's Kevin Donovan released an article which revealed that the Shermans' private investigation team had concluded that Honey and Barry had been in fact murdered. So the following week, the Toronto police also announced that Honey and Barry were in fact the victims of a targeted double homicide. They said that in the weeks before their death, they had executed 41 search warrants.
Wow.
They had seized Barry's computer from Apotex, forensically examined the Shermans' house, seized 150 bulk or packaged items from their house and condo in Florida.
Weird.
Had taken 250 witness statements and received over 1,255 tips from the public.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, tips are great whenever they're coming in from the public, but that's like so many. How do you work all of those? That's a lot.
So not only did they do, have all these things or do all these things, but they also extensively canvassed the neighborhood and collected about 2,000 hours of CCTV footage, and still not one person had been arrested in the connection with the Sherman's murder.
Tough.
They have said that there were people who refused to speak to them, and there was also a small number of witnesses who they were unable to locate, who may have left the country.
Oh, that's not suspicious.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not in the least bit. But later that year in October, a press conference was held where Brian Greenspan announced a $10 million reward that led to any information that led to the killer or killers.
That's a big reward.
Hefty chunk of change.
Yeah. They're still looking.
Anyways, so now, as we've said, the investigation into this case has been heavily criticized both in the media and by those who knew Barry and Honey. First of all,
DNO.
First of all, DNA samples and fingerprints really seemed to be an afterthought for them. They didn't start collecting any samples of DNA or fingerprinting until 8 to 9 months after the murder.
That's a long time to wait.
Even despite the fact that blood was found at the crime scene and that fingerprints were found at the scene.
What a failure, I feel like.
So they didn't collect any of these from anyone until 8 or 9 months after the murders. According to the Toronto Star, Toronto police detectives failed to even get alibis for most of the people connected to Barry and Honey.
Wow. That really does surprise me with such a wealthy couple,
Yeah, it's weird. So that would also include any family members, business associates, and other people closely related to this case. They didn't even ask them where they were on the night of the murders, which I feel like that's like, hey, number one question when you have this kind of stuff going on. But maybe that's just for the movies. I don't know. I think it should have been a standard question. Like Detective School 101. Like, is that not something that you're just taught on day one?
I mean,
we have a connection. We should ask.
I feel like it would be common sense too. Like,
we should ask.
We should. I actually would love to have a come on the show.
Can we make it real, like, blur face and change voice?
We can.
Okay, I lost where I'm at. Sorry, I got excited. Anyways, all right. So back to Barry and Honey. Eventually, they did ask some of these people, like family members and those close to the family, but it took a while.
Okay.
So this gave anyone out there plenty of time to carefully or strategically come up with an alibi.
And if you have that much money, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're okay.
You can buy an alibi.
Well, that's my thing. Like, with most people who are connected in this way with the amount of money and like the connections that they could have, like, that would be really easy to make the alibi, come to reality.
Absolutely.
Oh, nope. This is what I was doing. And like, you have the money to pay somebody. Like, people aren't going to mess that up.
Yep.
Anyways, so because of the wealth involved in this case, a lot of people had the means to do something as wild as hire professional hitmen. So even if they did have an alibi, it may not be what it seemed to be. One of those people was the Apotex CEO, Jeremy Desai. He wasn't interviewed until 7 weeks after the murder. Despite the fact that he was one of the last people to exchange emails with Barry, just hours before his murder. So Barry sent Jeremy an email at 8:13 p.m. before he was seen leaving Apotex's office on the CCTV footage, which was around 8:30.
So he's literally probably one of the very last people to, I guess, have any contact. So that's like a 17-minute
window.
Yeah.
Yep. And yet they did not get around to interviewing him until 7 weeks later.
That's crazy.
Yep. 7 weeks post-crime.
Yeah, that's a long time to wait. If you're talking about murder.
Yeah. So Barry's cousin, Carrie Winter, who was also interviewed but wasn't interviewed until around 2 months after the deaths. And what makes this one really stand out is the fact that his siblings were involved in a $1 billion court battle with Barry.
Yeah, that's also a big deal.
Which this was dismissed and ruled in Barry's favor just months before the Shermans were killed.
Ooh, so they had motive.
This lawsuit was a result of the fact that the cousins felt that Barry had double-crossed them when he sold his shares in their father's company, leaving them with nothing.
Yep.
Which we said in the first episode, like, ooh, this could come back.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was not the best thing to do.
No.
I mean, maybe business-wise it was for him, but
I think that's what people, like, underestimate and forget. Like, when you end up having your own family and other people are grown, like, a lot of times when you're thinking, like, you're trying to make the best financial, like, business
for yourself and your family.
Yes, for you and your family. Like, your family, even though a lot of people want to say, well, that's your family too. Like, yeah, but like,
not the same way.
Your immediate family, your husband or wife, your kids, like, that is your family.
Yeah.
And then you have extensions that then become your parents, your siblings, your, you know, like your nieces, your nephews, your cousins.
Well, and I think that the big issue here for them is that they feel like without their uncle, he wouldn't have been
had anything. Exactly. Well, and I think like what goes into that though is like the thoughts too of like, if he was doing something to better himself, like sometimes there's loss that's associated with it, and like you just sometimes take that and take it as a hit, and like if that means a relationship with an extended family member, in this case he was okay with that, trying to build a future for something else, regardless of like maybe his future was gonna come back later on and be like, oh, actually I want you guys to, you know, like nobody knows that, but if it wasn't talked about, like, I don't know, like, I would love to give the benefit of the doubt here, but, like, it seemed pretty obvious what the intentions were. Yeah. So, those weren't the only people that seemed to have put off on interviewing, despite them being potential suspects. People who were very close to the case, very close to the Shermans, people who had motive for murder. Sources also claim that CCTV footage that was obtained from the Apotex offices wasn't even viewed until over a month after it was obtained. So it just sat there for a month.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, they really did not handle this well.
No. So detectives allegedly came back to the Apotex office when they realized that they couldn't actually play the footage without the Apotex security system.
Oh. Well, unfortunate for them.
Yep. So then it took them almost 3 days to collect CCTV footage from the neighbors that lived directly across the street from the Shermans, who arguably had the best view of the Shermans' house.
Okay.
So their footage captured a dark four-door car driving west on Old Colony Road at 9:11 on December 14th. So that was the morning after they were killed. So the morning before their bodies were discovered, this car pulls up to the front of Sherman's house on the curb. A man gets out of the car, and then he walks from the car straight to the front door of the Sherman's house.
Oh, interesting.
He walks back and forth between the car and the Sherman's front door like 3 times. It's not clear if he actually ever went inside the home or not, because unfortunately, he was out of the camera frame for the majority of the footage.
Oh, man.
But he spent 29 minutes there. So he was either just standing outside the door in the front for the entire 29 minutes, or he entered the house, and we just don't know.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, we can't say for sure, but he was literally there for, you know, basically 30 minutes before he finally got in the car and drove away.
Which, that's a significant time.
I feel like it's very suspicious.
It is.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so very suspicious to me. So now the police have come out and said that they were able to identify this guy.
Okay,
and drum roll, please. Not really. Don't do it again.
Okay.
They actually interviewed him about why he was at the house, but they never released any further information about the man.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, that's why I said don't even drum roll. So we don't really know who he is. We don't know what he was doing in the house, especially for the full 29 minutes. We know absolutely no information about him or what he was doing. And what makes this even stranger is that while this guy was parked outside the Sherman house, a 911 call was made from a couple of houses down. So when the police went to follow up on this call, the homeowner said that they had never called 911.
Weird. What do you mean that they never released it?
So when that homeowner who was involved in that hears about Honey and Barry's death, he calls the police to tell them what happened. The whole situation was incredibly strange, and Kevin Donovan, the crime journalist, suspects later that potentially this guy caught on the CCTV footage going back and forth from the Sherman's house was actually a police officer dressed in civilian clothing.
Oh, even more interesting.
There's always been speculation that 911 call actually came from Honey or Barry's phone. Police did analyze their phone records, but the findings have never been released to the public. And again, still no one knows who the man on the CCTV footage is.
What a waste. That's a great lead.
I don't know. I speculate that it was probably a police officer in a civilian
That's what you think too?
outfit. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense with some of the other stuff that goes on.
Yeah. But anyways, so out of all the CCTV footage, which remember it was like 2,000 hours or something crazy, right? So out of all the footage that they gathered, they'd been able to identify pretty much everyone and rule them out as suspects and figure out what they were doing in the footage with this one exception.
Oh, man. See, that is that's got to be something big.
Yeah. And I say that, I feel like if it was a civilian, like, or a police officer in civilian attire, like, they would just say that.
Why wouldn't you, Unless there's something going on, something shady.
Yeah. So with this footage, there was actually footage captured from a nearby house on the evening of the murders showing someone who was commonly referred to as the walking man.
Interesting.
So this footage was made public in 2021, and it shows a man walking by that police have never been able to identify, and although they don't know his identity, they do refer to him as a suspect. So, detectives said in warrant paperwork that their, quote, investigative theory is that the individual is involved in the murders.
Okay.
So, there's that one.
Yeah, it's definitely a theory.
Now, the main criticism of this investigation is obviously the fact that they looked into this as a murder-suicide for 6 weeks.
Right.
Of the investigation, despite the fact that it obviously was not that. There were multiple things at the actual crime scene that, like, pointed in a whole different direction.
Yeah, obviously.
So there was never a suicide note found. The scene was very obviously staged. And then the fact that Barry really didn't have the physical capability to carry out all aspects of the attack.
Yeah, which is true.
And in those first 6 weeks, they likely missed out on crucial information due to this, due to the assumption of what they thought it was.
Yeah.
So the initial police warrants only listed Honey as a murder victim, and Barry's nature of death was listed as unclear. So now this would explain why they didn't initially collect DNA samples and fingerprints from the people they interviewed, but it doesn't explain why they didn't start collecting those forensics for months and months after they recategorized it as a double homicide, just 6 weeks after the murders took place.
I feel like, though, if you walk into something and, I mean, just as a police officer in your experience in working cases, the way that they were found, truly, like, there was no thought that this was staged, and you might want to go ahead and get DNA just in case.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that, but I feel like a lot of people get very complacent in their job, especially when they've done it for a long time.
It's true.
And you kind of go through the motions without even, like, the thought or the reflect of, oh, there's something could be off or this, until somebody else comes in and looks at it again.
Yeah.
So maybe there was a little bit of that at play too.
I'm sure there was.
So, but like we were saying, detectives, they also initially took some fingerprints from the scene of the crime. However, Brian Greenspan said that they missed 25 fingers and palm prints from the scene of the crime.
That's a lot to miss.
Yep. So how does it happen?
If you guys don't remember, Brian Greenspan was the private investigator that the Sherman children hired the day after the police said that they weren't looking into any suspects.
Yep. So back to that question, like, how does this happen? Other than having, tunnel vision or complacency, maybe you're at full capacity in your job. There's really not an excuse if this is what you're here for.
I agree.
Now, Brian and his team did collect those 25 missing prints themselves.
Okay.
He also had other issues with the investigation, notably that they didn't use a special fine particle vacuum on the area where the bodies were discovered.
Mm-hmm.
He and his team did this.
Good.
So they did this themselves and ended up handing over 2 vacuum bags of particles from the scene
Okay.
to the police. Brian also pointed out that his team found an issue with one of the doors at the house, which had been forcibly opened
Ooh.
and unlocked with a screwdriver.
See, that is a big detail to miss because they said there was no forced entry.
So a source close to crime journalist Kevin Donovan claimed that the door was actually the front door. And if that was true, then, this really is an epic fail for Toronto PD.
Truly.
Because they said there was no sign of forced entry, like you just said.
Mm-hmm.
That means the police did not check any transit of airport records from the night of the murders, and they didn't release the CCTV footage of the walking man for 4 years.
See, and that right there to me is a big thing. Like, why wouldn't you release that footage? It's just sassy. Sorry.
Being sassy.
My little sassy cat. She wants in.
Anyways, this is what Brian Greenspan had to say about the investigation just a year after Honey and Barry's murder. The police failed to properly examine and assess the crime scene where Barry and Honey Sherman were located in the basement of the pool. They failed to recognize their suspicious and staged manner in which their bodies were situated. Police are required by law to maintain a certain professional standard in their approach to investigation. But in this case, at this stage of the investigation, the manner in which the Toronto Police Service conducted itself well below that standard of how a reasonable officer in similar circumstances should have acted.
Mm-mm-mm. And he was a detective for many years before he was a PI, so.
So there was no shortage of motive for people to want Barry Sherman dead. Out of the hundreds of people that he was fighting legal battles with or had fought legal battles with, that he had sued, or drug companies that he was undercutting in the days leading to the murders, Barry was allegedly trying to get together $580 million to pay a judge that had been placed against his company.
Oh, a judgment?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. To pay a judgment that had been placed against his company.
Wow.
To try and get this money, he was trying to request repayment from people who he had lent his money to, including $50 to $60 million from his son,
oh my gosh,
Jonathan, and his business partners.
There
are actually emails that prove that he was trying to get Jonathan to mortgage some of his assets in order to pay him back. So obviously there was some kind of money issue on the horizon in the lead up of their death.
Yep.
Honey had also failed to show up to a charity board meeting, and she explained to the CEO of the charity that she was dealing with some issues. So whether this was money issues or not, we don't know.
Yeah.
In the wake of their deaths, it became apparent that the family dynamics of the Shermans was quite complex and at times was extremely difficult.
I feel like that's any family, but especially whenever you throw in money.
Especially billions of dollars.
Money always complicates everything.
So, Barry and Honey's marriage was reportedly rocky at times, but after their passing, their daughter Alexandra told police that in the last few years, they were, quote, a lot more in love and not arguing and spending more time together. But it seems that their social lives were incompatible. So Barry was a true workaholic and Honey was a socialite. And when it came to the issues of finances, Barry was the one who controlled all the money. And although he was quite generous with Honey, she had very little to her own name. So according to friends of Barry, he allegedly told them about 6 years before the death that he was considering leaving Honey.
Oh, no.
And there really was no particular reason that he wanted to do this. It just seemed as if he thought it made more sense because they weren't spending a whole lot of time together anyways. But Honey's friends, on the other hand, had no clue that there were any issues going on in Honey and Barry's marriage. And actually, they were under the impression that they were as close as they'd ever been in the years leading up to their death.
So that lines up more with the daughter's statement.
So without knowing the full story, I think it's fair to say that they could have been having some marital problems. There was an email exchange in the time leading up to their deaths where Honey was basically trying to convince Barry to come to a memorial event with her, and Barry absolutely just would not attend.
Ah,
So he wrote to Honey and he said, quote, "You've been abusive to me for over 40 years.
man.
Whenever I have asked you to stop, the response has been, you stop. You are also persistently abusive to the kids, which you remain unable to see, and you remain insensitive to how you deal with them." So Honey's response to this email was, "Okay, I hear you.
That's it?
That's it."
Okay.
So sources suggested that Barry and Honey's relationship with their kids was also volatile. After their death, a relative allegedly told the police that the couple, quote, "had some frustrations with their children because of the lack of work ethic, because the children were raised and exposed to a lot of money." When the children were younger, it was really Honey who dealt with most of their upbringing. But then as they got older, they started to call Barry more because he was in charge of the finances. So whenever they needed money, they would call him, and he pretty much just always gave them money whenever they asked.
If you remember in part 1, we talked about how Honey basically said that she wanted the kids to be able to make it on their own, and that was an issue in their marriage.
Yeah. So Jonathan said that in an interview that his mom was actually quite strict and said that she would yell at him and pull his ear, and that initially when he came out as gay, she was disapproving, but eventually she became more understanding. Their daughter Lauren allegedly told one of Honey's close friends that her mother's controlling behavior amounted to psychological abuse.
Okay.
So it's also alleged that their daughter Kaylin said that Honey often told her, "You're too fat. You need to lose weight." Friends of Honey also recalled her referring to her children as Nazis, which is particularly upsetting when you think about the fact that Honey's parents were Holocaust survivors.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And then Barry's relationship with the children was, a little better, but he was at work 6 days of the week. And even when he was at home, he was working.
Yeah.
Jonathan said that his dad didn't really come to a lot of events that he had, which is sad to me because,
that is sad.
I don't
Kids
know.
need support in that way. They need you to show up for them and go and watch them do all of their events, their things, whether it's school or sports or whatever it is that they're into. They need that support from their parents.
I mean, even the little things that they "Oh, it's okay, you're not there." It's really, those are big, impactful things if you make an effort to make it, or
They are.
even if you can't. I do understand not being able to be at every little event.
Yeah.
But make an effort for a call before or after, just to show you're thinking about them. That really goes a long ways.
It does.
He said that he would come to the big ones, but for the most part, he was working. So he didn't show up to a lot of his sporting events and things of that nature. From my understanding, it seems that Honey was the more strict parent, while Barry was more easygoing.
Yeah.
And almost like Barry played the good cop, which obviously left Honey to be the bad one.
Which also is not fair. That's not fun for the parents, but that's something you need to sort out on your own. And
yeah, and I feel like that leads Honey, Honey probably was the one that had to deal with more of the conflict, or was the disciplinary, which can be very, very hard.
Yeah.
So Barry was also the one who gave out the money.
Yep.
So they had very different relationships with both of their parents, and their parents played, drastically different roles.
Yep.
It's also rumored that Barry gave his first 2 children, Lauren and Jonathan, significantly more money than he did to Alexandra and Kaylin. So some sources claim that he gave both Jonathan and Lauren $100 million each at an early age.
That's a lot of money.
Yep. And although he helped Alexandra and Kaylin with properties and that sort of thing, they were given nowhere near as much. So obviously, I said that These were the rumors,
Right.
and they went around, so they, it's just speculation. But I think it's very well known that he gave his son, Jonathan, the most money. So he gave him a remarkable amount of money into his business ventures, and this may just be the tip of the iceberg, but Jonathan's main business was a self-storage business, and this business received $135 million in loans from a company funded by his father.
That's a ton of money. Oh my gosh.
Yep. So my thoughts when hearing this was just that Jonathan was his only son and he wanted to be really close to him. None of the kids wanted, to really get into a family business, and he really wanted,
into Barry's business.
Yeah, and I think he just really hoped that one of them would take over the businesses, particularly Jonathan would take over the business once he passed away, that he could kind of leave that to him.
Okay.
So once Barry and Honey did pass away, Jonathan was claiming that he was the heir.
Okay. Like it was solely going to him.
Like it was all going to him. And there had been emails that had been released between Barry, Lauren, and Jonathan that provided you with a more intimate understanding of their family dynamic.
Let's hear them.
So Lauren wrote in 2008, quote, "You say that you love us kids, but your actions say you don't. You've always hated Kaylin, and it's pretty obvious that you hate John too now. These folks are my siblings, my team, and as such, I feel hate towards anyone who hates them. I also despise the way you feel about and treat me. Our relationship is not possible under the current emotional circumstances. Let me know if and when those circumstances change."
Okay, interesting.
So then she went on to write, "You've worked very hard to make money for your whole life. At this point, making more money won't help you at all. In fact, I think that having produced too much money is a big part of our problem. Perhaps it's time to slow down at work and spend time nurturing loving relationships with your kids. On your deathbed, I doubt you'll be thinking, gosh, I wish I made another $1 billion. I bet you'll be thinking, gosh, I wish I loved my kids better.
Oh,
I really wasted my life. I am so sorry."
wow.
So then, here's this. Barry wrote back and said, "Lauren, your emails are frightening. They are increasingly accusatory and extreme. I know without a doubt that I'm a loving father to all 4 of my children, and there is nothing I would not do to endure your happiness, yet you continuously paint me as a monster." So obviously in this case,
he just showed his love in a different way than his kids wanted it to be shown. That's all.
Yes, like having an immense amount of wealth. Obviously in a lot of cases, especially, those cases that have immense wealth, people say that if you follow the money, you'll find the killer or killers.
Which is usually right.
And so Honey and Barry's fortune were split evenly amongst the 4 of their children.
Okay.
And saying that, though, they were very comfortable. They pretty much got whatever they wanted from their parents while they were alive. Every time they asked Barry for money, he would give it to them, but after their deaths, one of the siblings, Alexandra, came out and said that she believed that Jonathan was actually involved in the murders.
Oh, that's a big accusatory statement to make.
Yep.
Especially publicly.
Yep. So, Jonathan's alibi, as he told Kevin Donovan, was that he was at home with his partner, Fred.
Okay.
Recovering from jet lag after returning from a trip to Japan.
That's it. That was
it.
His whole alibi.
So the only evidence he has to prove that he was home that night of the murder was a photo of his cryptocurrency wallet that he took at home at 7:30 on the night of the murders.
Okay, well that doesn't hold up.
So,
My opinion.
Definitely not the most solid alibi. So Jonathan,
wow.
He also lived not too far away from his parents.
Even better.
So if he is capable of driving, he would have technically had time to drive to the house before the murders. He also had the means to hire a hitman.
Yep.
So he didn't necessarily even have to go in and do it himself. And if he did commit the murder himself, that would explain why the Toronto police claimed that there were no signs of forced entry into the Sherman's house.
That's true, and why the alarm was already turned off and all of that.
But I'm also thinking to myself, like, if he did commit the murders or even hire a hitman, surely he would have thought to make sure that his alibi was, like, airtight.
See, and that is a great point because you're right. You would think if you go to all the trouble of actually going through with that whole process, your alibi would be way more solid than that.
And, like, you would think about that like that. It would be important.
Absolutely. It would be massive.
So at the time of their deaths, Honey did not have a will, although it was rumored that she told some friends she was in the process of having one drafted. But for me, it's a little bit crazy that someone with access to so much money wouldn't have had a will at all.
I agree.
And I say that, but if she really didn't have much to her name and it was all technically her husband's, like...
Still, though, whatever you did have,
yeah,
surely you would have a will for it.
Yeah.
Because...
I don't know. People just don't think about wills and stuff. Even advanced directives, like, people just don't think about it. Like, oh, no, so-and-so will know what to do. Like, it's not about that. Like, at this point, it's a legal, issue.
Yep. With it being reported that she allegedly didn't have much to her name, maybe not much in comparison to what Barry had, but I bet you anything she still had more than what most people have.
Oh, definitely. And that's where my other thoughts go. Like, maybe what wasn't much to her could be a fortune to us. So
I still think you would have a will.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but whatever.
Yeah.
So it does make me wonder if there's other billionaires that don't have wills. Like, surely not.
I really want to say no, but
wills and advanced directives, like, I feel like that's got to be like a thing. Like lawyer school 101. Hey, let's get this done.
You would think. Yeah.
Hey, we have a source for that too.
Oh, yeah, we do. Avery.
Yeah.
Hey, Avery.
Hey, girl. Hey.
She listens.
So, Avery, we need you to let us know in any of your basic courses for law, like...
Is that taught?
Especially with, like, advanced directives. Oh, what kind of law is that? Shoot. One of the lawyers was just doing a presentation on this.
You weren't paying attention?
No. It's like a me and him conversation when we were at court, but...
Even worse.
It was, like, not something that I was interested in, and it was, like, a few of us and people, like, I was not associated with. So I was like, tune out. Anyways, so also tell us what kind of law that would be, like, practicing.
Yeah. Let us know.
Advanced directives and wills.
Yes.
Now, let's get back into this. So Barry did have a will, and it said that if anything happened to him, Honey would get everything. And if something happened to both of them, then it would be split between the 4 children and set payouts over time.
So it was a fair will.
Yeah.
As far as the will goes and how it was set up.
As far as the payout, like, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
And while he was incredibly wealthy, a lot of his money was not liquid. It was illiquid.
So for those of you who don't know, a liquid asset, that's going to be cash or items that you can quickly turn into cash. So money market accounts, marketable securities like stocks, bonds, mutual funds. They are like accounts receivable, which is money owed to a business. Those types of things are liquid assets. And then illiquid assets are items that you cannot easily convert into cash without potentially having to sell them with a significant loss. So real estate, vehicles, collectibles, inventory, machinery, business interest, stocks. So
like all his investments into
something that's not publicly traded. Yes. Yeah. Retirement accounts, all of those things are illiquid. So
knowing that, so something that was strange about Barry's will is that a lot of his close friends recall him saying that a large portion of his wealth was going to go to charities, but there was no mention of this in his actual will. In the time leading up to his death, he also told Honey that he was going to give her a large financial gift, which was somewhere between $100 million and $500 million. And Honey told her sister, Mary, that she was going to be sharing some of that with her.
And I mean, if you remember, they supported Mary and her husband pretty much their whole lives.
Mary was also actually expecting to be looked after by Honey and Barry in the event of their death, but there was nothing left to her in the will whatsoever. Mhm. So she was really upset by this. And one thing to note here was when she found out that Honey and Barry were dead, she chartered a jet from Miami to Toronto and she billed the Sherman kids for that.
Wow.
And remember that Mary and the Sherman children's relationship had always been very good and a close relationship. But after her sister and brother-in-law died, the relationship between Mary and the kids really became strained because she was saying that Honey had promised her hundreds of millions of dollars, jewelry, and real estate.
Again, money always makes things messy.
So she said things like, Honey told me that she wanted me and my kids to have everything of hers, but because Honey didn't leave a will, Jonathan wrote in an email, quote, I cannot willy-nilly give my sister's inheritance simply because Mary claims it as hers. So following Honey's murder, Mary told crime journalist Kevin Donovan that her family was now struggling to make ends meet and that her husband was now driving an Uber and she was considering becoming a tour guide.
Well, I'm sure that she was because, again, Barry and Honey are the ones who provided her with money. They helped them buy properties and other assets. They provided them with jobs. They gave them allowance. I mean, I bet they were struggling.
Well, I'm sure they were used to living a certain lifestyle and then they weren't able to meet that and it just crashed down around them. So, I mean, it's sad. It seems, I don't know. I wouldn't say unfair.
It's not necessarily
It's just unfortunately,
unfair.
it's like an unfortunate situation for her, especially because Barry and Honey literally supported them their entire life.
Yep.
But at the same time, it is what it is, and Honey should have made sure she had a will.
And that's exactly right.
But like we've said a few times now, money really can be one of the biggest evils.
Yep.
It has the capability of truly tearing families apart, no matter if it's a small amount or a large amount, but especially the amount of money that we're talking about in this case.
Absolutely.
It just makes it where it's so much easier for it to become like a volatile issue between family members.
It does.
So the Sherman children don't talk to Aunt Mary anymore.
Oh, that's sad.
Alexandra and Jonathan don't talk anymore. And then Honey and Mary, they were extremely close when Honey was alive, and she was, of course, devastated by the murders. Mary, even while the Shermans were still alive, she even scolded her own son for taking advantage of them. And then the time leading up to the murders, she sent an email to her son, Noah, pretty much annoyed with him. And in that email, she said, quote, everyone in the house shares the feelings that you would throw us under the bus for the chance to get to the Shermans and their money. So this email was sent just a couple of months before the murders, which also makes it,
gives a motive
sound
to
a
someone
little,
else.
like very messy. So now we're going to go back to something that we mentioned earlier, which is the legal battle between Barry's cousins, the Winter siblings and Barry. So to clarify, this was a long-standing legal battle in which the Winter siblings sued him and Apotex for $1 billion in 2007.
Crazy.
So they were essentially asking for 20% of Barry's net worth because they claimed that it was the sale of their father's company that allowed him to start Apotex in the first place. This case was dismissed in September of 2017. So just a couple of months before the murders took place, and Barry was actually awarded $300,000 in legal costs.
Oh, wow.
Just 1 week before the murders.
Okay.
So for very obvious reasons, there's been a lot of speculation that they might have been involved. Out of all the people who felt slighted by Barry, there were probably, the ones who got it the worst.
Yeah, for sure.
So they were orphaned. Then he bought the dad's company and all these stipulations for them so that he would get something from the company that their father created.
Yep.
And then he just up and left them with absolutely nothing. And all these stipulations were completely voided when he sold his stakes.
Yep.
So now it's never been proven that they had any involvement in the murders. Dana Winter died of a heroin overdose while out on bail in 1995 at the age of 33.
Oh, that's sad.
He'd been charged with conspiracy to commit murder alongside another person, and Barry was the person who paid his bond. Carey also had his own struggle with addiction, and despite some of the things that he had said in the interview, there was no credible evidence that supports or suggests that he was involved in the murder.
And some of the things that he says, I mean, I can't even believe it. I can't believe he would say those things openly. But
yeah. Carey Winters has been ordered to pay Sherman back $8 million in promissory notes that he signed over the years.
So he still did things for them.
In one of the interviews, this is, Carey talking, and he says, quote, like I would talk about killing Barry. And it was very graphic. The way I was going to do it wouldn't have been belts. It was going to be in the Apotex parking lot. That was my vision, always.
Wow.
That he'd come out of the building in Apotex, and I'd be hiding behind a car, and then he takes his finger and slits it across his neck, making a whoosh noise.
Wow.
After that, then he says, decapitate him.
Wow.
I wanted to roll his head across the parking lot, and I just sit there waiting for the police.
Okay.
So in another clip, which is a more intimate detail setting, interviews asked, did you kill Honey and Barry Sherman? And Carey says, absolutely not. I had nothing to do with it. I don't know who did it. So I'm sure that Jeffrey and Tim had their own problems out there. No credible evidence to suggest that either of them were involved. But over the years, Barry did help out all of the Winter children financially. He helped them with buying real estate, cars, gave each of them living allowances. Honey actually was not very happy about that, but Barry believed that it was his obligation because it was his mother's family.
So he did still do right by them.
Yeah.
Just not in the way that maybe they had in their head.
Yeah, like maybe not what was essentially envisioned or
but
like
$8 million that he had lent to him. I mean, that's pretty significant by itself without properties and everything else.
Yep.
That you just listed, you know?
Yep. And let's be real. Probably also because he did them dirty when it came to him selling his shares of their father's company. I'm sure it did leave him feeling a little obligated to help them because he also funded their business ventures and gave them money for things. But eventually, when it turned into a patent, his generosity became really thin. And then the icing on the cake was when they sued him in 2007.
I'm sure.
And that's when he fully cut them off completely.
I can't blame him for that, though.
So Carey Winter is very outspoken about his relationship with Barry, and he has done some truly wild interviews.
Wild.
Like, capitalized wild. Just like the quote you heard me just say about the whole decapitation. Some of the things that he says on these interviews are beyond insane, and it makes you question everything that he's saying.
It really does.
So in another clip of Carey talking, he says, there was a time in his office when he turned to me and he said, Carey, I want you to do me a favor. And I said, what's that, Barry? And he said, I want you to whack my wife. And I said, come on, Barry. You want me to kill your wife? And he goes, I didn't say you. You know some people. Could you arrange that for me? So now Carey, says that he is certain that he wanted Honey dead and that he even contacted some of his quote-unquote underworld associates to try and carry this out and place a hit on Honey.
Okay, so we've got to take what he says with a grain of salt here. That seems pretty out there.
I feel like that. So he claims that he suggested to Barry that he should just get a divorce. And Barry responded that there's no way she's getting half of my money. So obviously the validity of these claims is super questionable. And even Carey himself said that he was high in a lot of these interviews.
Well, there we go. Because, I mean, in his will, he left everything to his wife, Honey, if he dies before she does. So this is pretty out there, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of things he says in these interviews, it just doesn't make sense in terms of how like the murders actually took place. Because if he really wanted to put a hit on his wife,
I'm sure he had better avenues.
Yeah, and how would you end up dead?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Barry wouldn't have ended up dead himself.
Yep.
So if he's saying there's no way she's getting half of my money, then again, why end your own life? Why put her in the will? All the different things.
Yep.
And then on top of that, there's not even a question of that anymore because it was officially ruled as a double homicide.
Right.
And not to mention that there was a lot of animosity between Carrie and Barry.
Mm-hmm.
Because Carrie believed that he was entitled to part of the Sherman fortunes. There just wasn't any concrete. There wasn't any, concrete evidence to indicate that any of the Winter children were actually involved in the murder of Honey and Barry. So, but you do have to admit that them suing for $1 billion and being that they lost.
Not just did they lose the lawsuit, they ended up owing him money.
That's a little suspicious, and that could definitely be motive.
Yes.
And in the weeks following the tragedy, when the family was suggesting names of possible suspects, one name that came up over and over again was Frank D'Angelo. He was another one of the people that the police took a long time to interview, despite the fact that he was beefing with Jonathan. Therefore, he was also beefing with Barry.
Oh, he was beefing with the son.
Okay. Which caused a beef with Barry. So Frank had received a lot of financial backing from Barry to support his business ventures and films that he directed, and reportedly received over 100 million Canadian dollars plus interest, which is about 72 million and a half US dollars.
Wow.
Just for some comparison.
That's a lot.
Yep. So, as I just said, he had also been involved in some drama with Jonathan, Barry's only son. The drama was that Jonathan basically wanted Barry to cut Frank off because he thought that Frank was taking advantage of Barry. Financially, and that he was wasting it.
He wasn't doing what he was supposed to.
Yep. Barry had been giving Frank close to $1 million a month for a year.
Oh my gosh.
And Frank was a filmmaker and entrepreneur, so Barry was investing money into his endeavors, but was never really getting anything out of it in return.
So he was investing. Okay.
But it makes me think, like, was this like one of those, like, you invest so that you're losing money? Anyways, just throwing that out there. So Frank was receiving $1 million a month, and yet he was continuously asking Barry for more and more money.
That's crazy.
So Jonathan saw this as a waste of money and that Frank was wasting it. He thought Barry's money could be put to better use by funding his own ventures.
Okay.
So when Jonathan initially brought this up to his father, Barry blew it off. But within days, Jonathan sent an email to his 3 sisters. And basically, he was questioning his dad's decisions and actions and pretty much said that he was incompetent.
What?
And that he was throwing away their inheritance.
Wow.
But none of the sisters agreed with him.
Well, good.
In fact, one of the sisters actually showed the email to their dad, and ultimately Barry just laughed about it.
Okay.
To the best of our understanding, the disagreement was eventually settled, and Barry did end up cutting Frank off. In the months before the murders, he sent Frank an email that reads, "I have been providing funds month after month for years, averaging close to $1 million per month. Approximately every 2 weeks, I get another request for funds because some expected revenue is late. But in reality, it is to cover endless losses. There have been countless assurances of various good things that were imminent, but almost nothing has materialized. I will not be able to provide further funding beyond the end of this year. Need to decide what to do with each division individually." So in the months before the murders, he cut Frank off financially and abruptly. Now, both Frank and his wife have been interviewed by detectives, and ultimately there hasn't been anything found to implicate him in the murders.
Okay.
So realistically, with a man like Barry, who was involved in so many litigations, who had so many personal deals with, and so many people who ended up being so angry with him,
Yep.
There's just too many people to count who could have had motive to murder him and his wife.
Yeah, that list is miles and miles and miles long.
So Kevin Donovan wrote in his book that his sources, which included members of the Sherman family, said that in the fall of 2018, Jonathan started pointing the finger at Apotek's executive named Jack K.
Okay.
Which, once again, here we go. Jonathan is again pointing the blame at somebody else constantly,
Yep.
like it's somebody new to move on to.
Yep.
But anyway, so he was saying that he believed that he had something to do with the murders. There were also allegedly people that Barry had come into contact with over the years who were involved in some shady stuff.
Well, and I feel like that comes with money too. I feel like you're always intermingled at some point or another with
Some sort of shady business.
Yep.
Yeah. So there were scammers, tax schemes, those sort of things.
Yeah.
But Barry was a risk taker. So for every successful endeavor he had, there was also one that didn't work out.
Which makes sense.
So it's not a surprise that he came into contact with con artists too.
Yeah.
And it begs the question of if perhaps he came into contact with the wrong one at some point. Or even just went after the wrong person or company in one of his thousands of lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, a rival drug company named Teva has been connected to the crime by people online who believe that they may be involved.
Oh, so we've got some sleuths out there working, and that's what they've come up with?
So the speculation stems from a lawsuit that involved Jeremy Desai,
Okay.
Apotek's CEO at the time of the murder. And this lawsuit alleged that he was receiving trade secrets for 2 years from his girlfriend, who was an employee of Teva.
Okay, that's interesting.
So regardless of whether this accusation is true or not, it damaged Jeremy's reputation.
Mm-hmm.
So among some of the more bizarre theories, there was speculation that Barry had a liaison with a sex worker and that her pimp started extorting Barry for money until he finally snapped and killed both Barry and Honey in anger.
So there's all kinds of theories.
There are also rumors about like the Hells Angels bikers committed the crime because turf was regarding who controlled the fentanyl distribution in the area. Another pretty bizarre theory is that it was arranged by the Clinton Foundation.
Oh.
Before we go on to this, I almost said Prezar instead of like pretty bizarre.
Bizarre.
I had to really
Add that word to your dictionary.
Make that get there, yeah. Anyways, okay, so let's go back to this Clinton Foundation. The theory about this was arranged by the Clinton Foundation.
Okay.
So over disputes because of Apotek supplying drugs to relieve efforts in Puerto Rico, Haiti, and Rwanda, Kevin Donovan published an email in his book that he received in 2018, which read, quote, "The Sherman case will only be solved if Donald Trump exposes the Clinton Foundation and involves the executive order he issued December 20th of 2017.
So there's some big hitters that are possibly at play here. Like big hitters.
So people in the government are involved in the cover-up. Sherman and Apotek's were part of a criminal pharmaceutical ring perpetrating genocide in third world countries with the use of substandard drugs. So that is what the email read.
That's so much.
So at this point, it's been 8 years, and it seems that they aren't any closer to actually finding the killer or killers. And there are still many questions about what exactly happened that night. There are some suggested theories, and those are that the killer or killers entered the house, either by breaking in with a screwdriver through the front door, through the unlocked window, or the unlocked door, or possibly followed Honey into the home. They could have, been known by the Shermans or used the key the realtors used to show the property once the killer or killers entered the home.
Yep.
They confronted Honey first. We know that Honey always parked in the driveway on the left of the underground garage, close to the side door where she always entered the house. And we also know that she often left this door unlocked for when Barry got home.
Okay.
So, this door leads to the laundry room and the breakfast area. The only thing we know for sure about what happened after Honey got home was that her phone somehow ended up in the powder room on the main floor she never used.
Mm-hmm.
So it's theorized that she fled from the attacker or attackers into this powder room.
Mm-hmm.
The bruise on her cheek also indicated that there was some sort of struggle with the attacker or attackers. And it's theorized that she was restrained or killed on the main floor of the home and then taken down to the pool room, and that she sustained some of those injuries shortly before or shortly after her death when her body was being dragged across the main floor.
Which makes sense.
Or even down the stairs
Mm-hmm.
to the pool room.
Yep.
So, why the pool room was chosen as the place to stage their bodies is also up for debate. Perhaps it was due to the tiled surface, making it a quick and easy cleanup. Maybe it was because it was kind of out of the way from the main part of the house, meaning it would probably take longer for someone to find them.
Yeah.
We also know that Barry stayed at the office until around 8:30 p.m., meaning he would have arrived home around 9 or shortly before 9. And this was unusual for him because typically he wouldn't get home from the office until around 10:30 or 11.
So he came home early.
But for whatever reason on this particular day, he decided to come home early. And then when, Barry got home from work, he usually parked in the circular drive near the front door, and then he would enter the house through the side door that Honey left unlocked. However, on this day, his car was parked in the basement parking garage.
You see, those are interesting points.
So some of his belongings were found lying on the floor near the hallway, near the internal door from the garage into the house, which implies that Barry was ambushed as he exited the garage. So, Honey could have been alive at this point and tied up in position that, Barry came through almost as bait for him to find when he arrived.
Oh, yeah.
And then the door of the house that was unlocked was a door that led into the underground parking garage, and it was a door that was rarely used. So it's possible that this is the door that the killers used to access the home. It's likely that after Barry was ambushed, he was taken to the pool room while he was still alive, and this is where he was murdered. But really, it seems like they were killed by someone who knew them, or at least knew the ins and outs of their routine.
Yeah.
There were so many things that made, that Wednesday night in December of 2017 the perfect night to carry out this crime. It was a night that neither of them had any plans.
Which was rare.
No one was scheduled to come by the house the following day. Jack Kay was out of town. Honey's sister Mary was also out of town. Coincidentally, the meeting that Honey and Barry had at the Apotek's office with their architect on that day they were murdered was actually supposed to be at their house. But for some reason, which no one can seem to recall, it was changed to take place at the Apotek's offices. So while they were out at this meeting, it gave a killer or the killers ample time to position themselves inside the house or near the house and prepare.
It did.
It also provided the killer or killers with ample time after the murders to stage the bodies, clean up anything that needed to be cleaned up, double check that they had everything they needed, and get away before anyone noticed that the couple had been killed. So whether they crossed the state border or, internationally, they had so much time to do all of this. So Barry and Honey Sherman were murdered on the night of December 13th, and no one was due to come to the house until December 15th.
Oh, man.
So a crime journalist, Kevin Donovan, had stated that he does not believe that this was a hitman because of the way that they were killed. Strangulation is such a personal way to kill somebody.
It is.
You hold power over somebody. So had it been a hitman, they would have more likely just shot them and then made sure no traces were left.
Yep, something quiet, quick, easy.
And then fled the scene. And honestly, if it had been a hitman, they wouldn't have staged the bodies the way they were staged.
Absolutely. It was very questionable.
Yeah. Well, and I say that, I guess, if they were asked to do it. But
what a weird thing to ask. What a weird thing to ask for, though.
Yeah. But I mean, money is incentive. So I just feel like it's more likely like they would have made the scene look 100% as if it was a murder suicide.
Absolutely.
Like, left no question about it. But to go and stage somebody again, it's just a very personal way to do it. And it's, a method generally used by someone that a victim knows.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So, what exactly happened is completely unknown to everyone except for the killer or killers. So, guys, truly, who actually committed these murders or who's responsible or who's involved is anyone's guess at this point.
Still unknown.
And it's still unsolved.
Yep.
And as we just went over, there are possibly hundreds of people with motive to kill this couple.
Yep.
And hundreds of ways of which it could have come about.
Yep.
And this is where we're going to leave you.
That's right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. We will be back next week.
And remember, new year, new you.
New year, new you. Woo, 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 woo.
Anyways, so until next time,
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Taylor. And remember,
it's not just crime, it's
pure malice.
Bye, guys.
All right.